Now it's time to dive deeper and look at each part of Data Studio in more detail. Let's start at the very beginning and open the Data Studio homepage. There are three parts or tabs on this page: Reports, Data Sources, and Explorer. Report is basically the data visualization and data summaries that you are going to create. So this dashboard that we created earlier, this is a report. You can see it here. Next is data sources. Data Studio allows us to access numerous data sources. Last time we used a CSV file as a data source. Similarly, you can use Google Sheets, your Google Analytics account, your Google Ads account, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and many others. Here, I want you to understand the difference between a data set, a data source, and a connector. The data set is your actual physical data that you have in your Excel sheet or your Google Sheet or in any database or anywhere else. Data set exists regardless of whether you are using Google Data Studio or not. But the data source is the representation of this data set into Google Data Studio. These two may not be exactly same. In your data source, you can pre-process the data set and add or delete some of the columns or fields from your original data set, which can be used in your report. So in the coming lectures, we'll be creating some new fields, and those fields will not become part of the original data set, but they will be part of the data source. So data set is the underlying data, and data source is the data set with or without modifications to be used for making the report. This is outside of Data Studio and this is inside the Data Studio. But how does Google Data Studio get this data set as a data source? For that, we need a connector. This connector will help us use the data set of our choice. So if I want to connect a Google Sheet, I will use the connector which connects to a Google Sheet. So whenever we want to create a data source, we will first have to select a connector. Here you can see all the available connectors. There are 17 connectors from Google and nearly 191 connectors from the partners. When you are watching this video, there may be even more connectors. These 17 connectors which are provided by Google are basically to connect with Google applications such as Google Sheets, Google Analytics, Google Campaign Manager, YouTube, etc. We already used this file upload option. We'll be looking at 2 or 3 more of these connectors in the coming videos. That's all about data sources. Next tab is Explorer. I like to think of Explorer as your rough notebook or your practice notebook. You can explore your dataset here, draw all the charts and data tables to see which suits better, which contains more information before you put it into your report. So if you are not sure what information is contained in your data and what you want to show in the report, Explorer is where you should go. On this homepage, whatever option you select out of these 3 tabs, correspondingly you will see the list of previously created report or previously created data source or an Explorer file at the bottom. This report was created in the last video. If you move on to data sources, you can see the data source which we added in the last video. When you have a lot of reports and data sources, you can use these buttons to filter out the report or data source that you want. We will talk about this ownership when we discuss report sharing. And lastly, this is the most important button to create a new report or to add a data source or to open an Explorer page. This is the button that we need to press. So this is the Data Studio homepage, and overall I think we have also discussed the architecture of Data Studio reports. That is, there is a data source at the backend which is getting the data from a data set via a connector, and that data source is used to create reports that we will have here.